Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
All right, everybody, we're here again on the Quiet Warrior Show. It's Tom Dutta, like butter, and it's been a very special weekend. Today is July the 3rd. I'll tell you, the first week in Canada is amazing. We're in British Columbia. July 1st was our Canada Day, and you might see a little bit of the flag on the wall being my studio, getting a little patriotic there. Canada's birthday, it was, we're 186 years old, and that's when we became into federation. Just exciting. We were down, and there were some festivals and things happening in my area, and it's just great to be here. What's even more exciting is July 4th is tomorrow, and for all of our American audience and our guest originally from New York, hey, it's going to be spectacular. July the 5th seems to be my birthday, so oops, that's out there now. Money, please. Anyway, let me just introduce our guest by bio, and then I'll bring her onto the screen. So back again, it's a two-time Quiet Warrior. Her name is Sophie McLean. I'll just read this bio, everybody, out loud, and I just have chills because it's a life that you kind of go, wow. Born in Algeria, she was educated in Morocco, in France, professional career in the USA and UK. She led, let's just say, an eventful life. She's been a helicopter pilot, a teacher, a designer, a relief worker, a war refugee, a CEO, served as United Nations rep on the Commission of the Status of Women's Hunger Project. You can tell this lady's got service in her blood. She's been shot at, oh my goodness, shipwrecked, widowed. She's lived on a farm, a boat, penthouse, and in an ashram. I want to go to India. That's part of my roots, everyone. My parents from Fiji, but I've been told go to an ashram and it'll change your life. So maybe I'll call her and get some advice. I just learned, by the way, that she's moved to Spain, a little place. She calls it a small island, 30 miles, Menorca, Spain. Pretty spectacular. Let me get to the business side. She's a wisdom teacher. She spent decades leading transformational seminars, over 80,000 people around the world. And I'll leave it at that because she's here talking about her second book. Everybody, I've read it. It's an amazing read and book. Let's bring Sophie McLean onto the screen. Sophie, welcome to the show.
Tom, thank you for having me again. I'm so excited.
I am too, and I babbled a bit up front, but the spotlight's on you today. So it is true. I mean, back there where you're sitting, you told me you're in Menorca, Spain. Tell us quickly just about that situation. You were in New York before. You just got there a year ago.
Yes, I was in New York during COVID, and it was a very strange experience, right? It was intense as everything in New York, but all my work moved to online courses. And when people came back to New York and life nearly with a vengeance, that was my experience. I thought maybe something will change, something will transform, but I was very aware of people nearly anger at those 2 years or 3 years. So all the shops reopened, even more shops, more noise, more people, more everything. And I thought, okay, I actually am now can be anywhere in the world and work online. That's what the freedom I got. So I moved to the sea. The Mediterranean Sea has always been a passion of mine. My family is originally, like 200 years ago, from this little island. Yeah. And I moved here. And I work at night because my students are very much with Northern America. But I love it.
Well, that's fascinating, everybody. Imagine that lifestyle. And Sophie, we were just talking off screen here about your work. And when we talk about pivoting in COVID, that's not the first time I've heard that. And I give you credit, pivoting and putting your business online. That's something that takes a lot of effort. And for a lot of people, they're stuck. It doesn't always work that way.
No, I'm very lucky, very grateful that it worked.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm just going to ask you to hold up the book there. So we're here today because of celebrating your new book. So I'm going to full screen you, Sophie. There we are. And just read out the title for us.
It's called Awakening All Sleepwalkers, and it's actually more of a guide than a book.
Yes, thank you for showing us that. I'll just bring myself back on the screen here. What what I'm really fascinated about is I read the book everybody last night from cover to cover. Sophie, there's many things I love about the way you've done that book. As you said, I picked that up right away. It's a workbook. I like how it's organized. In particular, everybody, there's worksheets and you can go and download them. But the size of the font and the way it's laid out, I found it very pleasurable. But it took me on a journey to actually do some things that were transformational in myself. So before we give it back to you, I want to do another shout out to our audience. Listen, if you're watching us now, and I see we've got a couple of people live, please chat in the chat box. If you're on YouTube, you can chat, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Just put the comment or question or anything, and I might feature it on the screen. Let's start with a little bit of the backstory. What led you to be an author? I know you had your first book, and then we'll get into this one.
Yes, an author was in 2010. I went on a full-blown out spiritual quest, and after 7 or 8 years, it's natural to want to put it. For me, it was natural. I kind of dance with life.
Yeah.
Whatever comes my way, I engage with, and I'm a yes to life. So the first book was like that, and then the second one was really the post-COVID realization that many people were aware that their priority needed to alter, but they didn't have a guide. It's if you haven't engaged in awakening, in spirituality, in awareness work, where do you start?
Yeah.
So I really made a very profound choice for me, Tom, because you know how you always have a little resistance to giving everything away.
Yes.
Because there is a saying, right? Give and you shall receive, or you always reap what you sow, right? But I have 35 years of experience, and I chose to give it all away. And it is unbelievable experience, and that's why I wrote this guide. I thought, I want a 15-year-old to whatever age to be able to pick up the guide and step by step talking to me. I have written it as if I was there holding the hand, step by step guide to awakening. And that's what my intention was. Whoever is interested, it's all there.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to put something on the screen here, so if we can get it to show there. Everybody, this is the book itself and the title page, and that was the curious part. My brain, like everybody, I studied neuroscience. My brain took this in, and I started forming perceptions of awakening all sleepwalkers, and then took me on a journey. By the way, Sophie, when I was a young boy, before my parents divorced at 12, so I was somewhat homeless with the family. And it had many memories. One of them was sleepwalking. I was a sleepwalker. My mom said that they found me halfway up a street walking to school in my pajamas. So I started thinking about this and thinking about the word sleepwalker, and then also the other comment about spirituality, and you said giving it away. So just tell us about what that means, awakening all sleepwalkers.
Well, there are two. Let me see. How can I say it the best? The source of all suffering, say the Buddhist, is ignorance.
Yeah.
Right. And what I call the state of ignorance about the illusion we operate inside of, I call it sleepwalking.
Right.
Right. So most of us operate and have developed survival mechanism, have even mastered those survival mechanism to do well, to make it in life, to get what you want, to even to love, to be nice, to work hard, right? So the problem with this automatic survival as a sleepwalker is that you've left with the feeling, how come I'm not satisfied? I'm taking all the right action. I'm doing what I think I need to do. I even got everything I think I needed to be fulfilled. And how come I'm not fulfilled? It's because you can never, ever be fulfilled if you're a sleepwalker.
Yeah. Let me jump in there. I just want to put something back on the screen here so we can see it together. Let's bring that back on. This is page 62 in the book there. And, if you want to turn to it, you have your book, the book. Obviously, I read this and it just blew my mind. And it's a lot of things I already was thinking about in my brain from my previous experience. But the automatic and unconscious ego is the sum of our identifications. I just want to read this off here, everybody. At the top, you can see it on the screen. If you're on the podcast, which we'll release in the future, you won't see this, so you've got to watch the YouTube video premiere. Little shameless plug there. It says the automatic and unconscious ego has been called the identity, the cage, the personality, the persona, the character. Indeed, contrary to the widely held view that the automatic and unconscious ego is the equivalent of being arrogant or pretentious, the automatic and unconscious ego is simply all that we identify with consciously or unconsciously. Identifications cost us our freedom. Wow, this is a real discovery. So just talk a little bit about this.
Well, inside of that cage, that sleepwalking, we forget who we really are, right? So you need to ground yourself. If the despair that you witness in the world,
Yeah.
The suffering, it comes from having forgotten who we really are. And so, but most people look to the external world to try to ground themselves. So you can identify with your body, with your personality, your character, your thoughts, your emotions, your title, your weight, your age, your looks, the color of your skin, your nationality, you name it, you do it, right? And for example, I would never say I am a wisdom teacher.
Yeah.
I would say I call myself a wisdom teacher.
Right.
You see? So any identification to anything will rob you of your power and of your freedom.
Yeah.
And that's the sleepwalking.
Yeah. It's amazing. I just want to add another thing to the screen here. Let's take a look at this. You can add it. And Sophie, people love authors who do readings in bookstores. Why don't you read this out? Just get your book out there so we can capture you. This is
if you give me the
page 68. This is the first, everybody. We're getting the amazing Sophie McLean to do us a book reading here. This is a little quote on the ego by Alan Watts. But while you're looking for that, tell me when you have it. Everybody, I just want you to notice the beautiful image of this book. And using watercolors, you can see some of the quotes and things put with the backdrop of watercolor. This is page 68 in the PDF, by the way, so it may not be exactly the page.
In the ebook, mine is 64. So here it is. It's Alan Watts, right? If you don't know Alan Watts, everybody listening, he's one of my favorite authors. He's got a very British sense of humor, and he is irresistible in his clarity and awakening. He really is an extraordinary teacher. So he said, our normal sensation of self is a hoax, or at best, a temporary role that we are playing or have been conned into playing with our own tacit consent, just as every hypnotized person is basically willing to be hypnotized. The most strongly enforced of all non-taboos is a taboo against knowing who and what you really are behind the mask of your apparently separate, independent, and isolated egos.
Oh my goodness. There's so much in that quote. So you got me going here. So I'm going to riff on that. I've been known to say things like, we're not who we really think we are. And everybody, we're talking to Sophie McLean, the author of this new book here, Awakening the Sleepwalkers. And Sophie, one of the things that you've done here is created a workbook where, as you said, the reader can go through this journey and I think you use the term unravel, but you can correct me,
Yep.
unravel all this stuff that we believe we are. And there were several quotes in there about things like where, it's not real, that these perceptions and things of who we think we are were created at different stages of life, ages 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 7, all this. And so talk to us a little bit about that, just the way you unravel this story or this who we
Yeah.
are.
So I'll tell you the tale I tell my students. Okay. So imagine you're a soul.
Yeah.
So whatever the Soul Academy looks like, I call it the quantum dimension. There is intelligence, there is no time, but there it is. You're a little soul, everybody, and you are in the spiritual academy. I don't know exactly what you have to accomplish in the spiritual academy, but my guess is you need to go back to love and the divine, right?
Yeah.
Great. And at one point in your training, it is time for you to go to the hardest, most advanced finishing school ever. And you are sent to this very special place called Earth. So off you go to Earth, and there are rules to that finishing school. The first rule is you are going to forget who you really are. Yes. Second rule is
I like that.
You will be in total uncertainty.
Wow.
Third rule, you will have absolutely no control.
Okay.
Whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you will graduate from that school when you remember who you are and operate in the space of love.
Okay, everybody, let's just stop at their teaching moment. So if you go back to this section, I'd like you to do that to our listeners when we produce and release this. What I took in there was a sense of, now that I've got the workbook, what you just described is a journey that I think anybody would want to go on. And yes. you get to the end of that. So that is what intrigued me when I first started reading the book. And there was another part in there about defining a play. Can you just talk about that? I can't remember the exact things, but
so yes. So the best way to look at this finishing school called Earth, right? This incarnation, is to look at what we have created as a sleepwalker, as a play. And, I inspired myself from Shakespeare, of course, right? Who just always used that analogy for human being as actors and players. And everybody has a play. If you look at your life, you will see you have a genre, you have a main character, you have a supporting cast, and you have a script. And even if there are various circumstances and you grow and you react a little bit differently for each day, there is a theme.
Yeah.
So, for example, for me, until the age of 34, when I awakened from sleepwalking, my play was a Greek tragedy. I mean, I had rape and losing of children and war and losing of my husband. And I mean, really a Greek tragedy, right?
Yeah.
And the moment, and the main character was a tragic heroine, like going for it. And my relationship to the supporting cast is that I didn't trust anyone. And my script was surviving this tragedy, right? So by being very resourceful. When I awakened from that play and I got to the very moments, and there is 4 or 5, not more, where you create your play. I'm 62-year-old now. I was 34. I haven't had one tragedy. I literally altered the experience of being alive and the context of my life. Now that is, I am so grateful to be able to do that. And that is what I wanted to give to people.
Now, thank you so much. I want to honor you. So everybody, if you heard our first episode, was a while ago, Sophie with us with her first book. What was the first book title again?
The Elegance of Simplicity.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because sometimes you ask an author, they go, okay, what was that first book? You're awesome. What you just heard there, and I'm going to play it back for us to reflect on. Everybody, reflective thinking is something I'm learning to do more of. Is that at 34, you heard about the some call it traumas or maltreatments things. You heard about all that, and 34, and then there's nothing since. And Sophie's 62. Wouldn't you love to have that type of life, everybody, if you're stuck? And that's the part when I look at what's on the screen here, I just want to jump in. You can help me with this, but and also to our people who are watching live, I see you there. Put a chat comment in the chat box. Ask a question if you like. Sophie says, what is the genre of your life? I want to put something in there for me. So just help me. If you're coaching me, help me do that. Ask me a question so that I can answer it maybe.
About your life, Tom, to know the genre of your life. So I would need to know your life to be able to support you, right? But if you look at the events, the main events of your life, what is a pattern, right? So I had tragedies. What is repeating itself in your life?
Gotcha. Okay. So for those who follow me, The Way of the Quiet Warrior was my first publication, and that was about my memoir. So I'll just go through, and I was doing this in the workbook, but doing it here for a sense of working with you, so the audience can get this book and do it for themselves. So I was born in another country, England, and came to Canada when I was 4 or 5 years old. Born on a military base. My dad was not allowed to come down to the birthing. So I experienced a little bit of early years. What now I know is maybe some rejection, or maybe not feeling my dad thought I was important enough, because that's how a child thinks. They're not rational. My dad never drank, but in the army, he became a violent man, very alcoholic. And so in Canada, my mom and dad obviously were married, and our home was toxic. I mean, it was traumatic. There was things I saw that no child should see up until about the age of 12. And my father left home, and that was a 7-page letter that he left for me and my 2 brothers. And there were drinking parties night after night. I didn't get sleep in school, all this. So we got the picture. It was a pretty crappy way to grow up. Then I went into business, and I excelled quickly. After my dad left home and my parents divorced, the home was sold. I was kind of on my own, and I had some mentors, went into business, and I excelled. So I was overachieving, and I read a little bit about this in your book. Overachieving, I was a perfectionist, but I was also driving people very hard because I didn't know how to lead effectively. I was using some of my limiting beliefs. So this was more of toxic childhood, anger, trauma, unresolved, going into business, but being resilient enough to be a manager at age 21, a CEO at age 31, and then the wall. And let's stop there. The wall hit when I started getting tough feedback about my leadership style. The rest of the story was loss of a child. It was going through a failed marriage. It was going through a financial reset or a collapse from external events. It was a loss of a parent. All those things are part of that long storyline.
So I would say that the genre of your life is like a drama, right?
Yeah.
You know, a drama, right? And the main character is a courageous, quiet warrior.
That's right.
You don't go under. You are sound courageous. You give up, even if it's tough, you keep going, right? So I would even call it the resilient warrior.
Yeah. Thank you. In my future work that I've done since I've gone through this journey, I came up with an avatar. When I did a TED Talk in 2020. I had a brain injury in 2018. So I think you and I talked about this before, that I fell in a bathtub, and I'm 5 years recovering from that. But there was this avatar I came up with called the Black Knight, and the Black Knight was what you said. It's this quiet knight who has armor on. So I still had the armor on, still living in those perceptions of the past, the pain inside projecting out. This is what I discovered through reading your book. But that wasn't real. The real world out there I hadn't found yet. And so I still today, this is why I want to do this with you. I still today the perception of the past come to the future and manifest in what I see in the outside world. So Sophie, I read this in your book too. Maybe you can talk about it. When we have those past perceptions, what I've learned from you, Sophie, is that when we look at the outside world, the picture we see isn't congruent. It's not really what it is. And imagine that, everybody, that can trip you up if it's rooted in these things that you developed in this play. Just talk to me about that.
Well, part of being a sleepwalker, Tom, is not being present, right? A sleepwalker is not awake, right? By definition. Right. So you're not present. So what most human beings are trapped inside of is the illusion of the future and the past.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what happens is that you take what happened to you in the past, not what happened, because what happened is years ago, right?
Sure.
But you take the decision and the narrative and the emotion that are attached to what happened, you project them into your future. So when you look ahead of you, what you see is your past. And that is a movie called Groundhog Day. Yeah. Do you remember this guy that woke up every morning for the same over and over again? That right. is what happened as a sleepwalker, because there is no being present. Wow. You keep replaying what happened to you in the past.
Yes. And I know a lot of people who do that. I mean, I have people on my show where that comes up all the time, and it plays and plays. And it's after I had my injury in 2018, this unconscious or this ego part of me was playing over and over. I slipped into depression, all those terrible things that come with that type of injury. I want to ask you to look with me and talk about what's on the screen here. It's everybody. It says case studies, and I want to get into a couple things. Let me change the look on the screen a little bit here. I will just stay with that. How about that one there? Yeah. So case studies. The following are examples of automatic and unconscious ego construction shared with permission by students. Talk about what this image on the screen is. Who are the students in the research?
Okay, well, I've had 80,000 students, and I have one-on-one private students. Yeah. So I know, which I take in 10 sessions. It only takes 10 sessions. It's not long. Yeah. I disentangle the ego with them. And I thought, again, inside of my intention of supporting everybody that even have a small commitment to being awakened, I thought it would be so much easier for them to understand the design of human being if I put in example. So I have throughout the book the same 5 people. Yeah. So at the end, you know exactly how you become a sleepwalker and what it can look like.
That's very cool. So I've got on the screen here now, just describe this to us. So there were what you call incidents. So again, just stepping back, I'm going to frame this and let Sophie talk to us. So now that I understand unconscious ego, these concepts, you've explained to us that there's these stages of life, these ages where we have incidents. And what we're showing on the screen here, everyone, I just want to preface it quickly. It says Adam's first incident. So Sophie, help us understand what we're seeing here.
So do you remember I said to you, when you are sent to this finishing school called Earth, you need to forget who you really are. So at a very, very young age, around 1 or 2 years old, something happened. And for the first time, and I have not spoken to 9 billion human beings, but 100,000, all nationalities, all ages, all upbringing, all education, and every single one goes through the same. Then I can say quite confidently that it is the design of human being, right? So at about the age of 1 or 2, you experience for the first time in your life fear. It doesn't have to be tragic, but you just see for the first time something you do not know. And this not knowing gives rise to fear.
Yeah.
And that is when you shift from you as a soul to being a sleepwalker.
Right. So can I just jump in there? On the screen here, everybody, if again on the podcast, you're just hearing audio, but with the video, There at the bottom, you see the snapshot, and it says age 1.5. Then it says the problem, the emotions, the view of life, and the solution to survive. Can you just read that to us, or in whatever way you'd like, just so the audience listening to the podcast can understand?
Let's see. Well, this specific student had a sister. He was 1.5, I think, and he had a sister that was brought home, brought home, and he was so excited. I want you to picture a little boy, right, waiting for his sister, and finally his sister came home, and he's allowed to take her in his arm, but he holds her like a treasure, right? So he holds her too tightly. So the parents said, no, you have to not hold her that tight. So he lets go, and now she nearly falls out of his arm.
Yeah.
So his mother, and again, there is no judgment, it's with compassion, got so scared for the baby, she snatched the baby away.
Yeah.
And for Adam, that was really the fall from grace, because he made up, but he was devastated. He thought he did something really terrible, and he decided, all right, well, people think I'm incapable. Life is a place where people hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And that's it. That is now his view of life, and how he's going to survive what he now thinks life is by being very careful. But if you are very, very careful and you don't take risks, you don't accomplish anything. You're not alive.
Yeah, can I just jump in there? Wow, this is fascinating. Everybody, you'll see me put a comment on the screen here. I put Sophie's illustrations through research. It's authentic. I'm doing that as an example so I can ask those who are watching us to add some comments if you feel. Sophie, I went on a journey in my head about another story. I can't tell you who, but I was working years ago in a situation after I had my brain injury, because I'm an executive and I run a business. So my background, everyone who follows me knows I was a paid CEO for most of my career, created an education company. I teach and coach. So Sophie and I are, sort of influencers together. And this person they were a train wreck. Everything about them. They were late for work. They had a temper. They had trouble getting along with people. And then I heard this story once of how they told me they picked up the child and dropped the child. They actually dropped the child on a pretty hard floor. And this person was then going through some marital challenges and changes. And I thought of when I read your book, this is why I'm saying this, everyone, that we're all connected by threads. Sophie and I, we both are so aligned on this, but Sophie, I talk about the hero's journey a lot, the background of my show, which is we're all connected by threads in our stories. Just reading this evoked in me a story of a friend of mine. And so now I'm looking at this, I'm saying, oh my goodness, the solution of this, Adam, is I'll be very careful. The view of life is a place where people hurt me. And I can start seeing now through that relationship I had with this person, I can start seeing this is maybe what they adopted in their thinking, how they operated. And by the way, sadly, this person I heard is no longer working at where I was, and probably is, struggling more in life and hasn't gone through this transformation. I want to flip the screen here and have you just take us to, I want to get to the end of this case study, which is, I think you can talk at me while I'm just finding this. There's how many of these different age segments do you go through?
4.
4. Okay. So if you can find it in your book first, tell me the page. I think this might.
Yes, but you have the ebook and I have the hard
Oh, that's
copy.
okay.
So
Yeah, probably not too far.
let's see. Yeah, you're not too far. Let's see. It's
Oh, here we
I
go.
have a look. Yeah, well done.
Okay, so here we are back again, and we have on the screen now. So this is Adam's incident, fourth incident, and this whole chart we're seeing, everybody, has the entire thing. So Sophie, if you can, because you got your book there. By the way, hold up the book. We want to just show off that a little bit here again. Read us the title.
Case studies
Yeah,
And that's
beautiful.
the last case studies of Adam with all of his ego on the
Okay.
page.
So what I'm going to ask you to do is just now, as if you're teaching us as a lecture, walk us through the four. You can just go through them in briefly. And you can, the magic of this, everyone, is when you hear these four on a piece of paper and you read through it in summary, it's like, oh my goodness. So just if you can just take us
All
through
right,
that.
I'll take you through and I'll show you the logic of the
Yes,
design.
please.
Right?
Okay.
All right, so everybody, you know, the age 1.5, Adams nearly dropped his sister. People try to take her away. He decides life is a place where people hurt my feelings. I'll be very careful. Now, you want to see that as the wall of a jail. The moment Adam had a thought, life is a place where people hurt me, that is a planet I live in, and he believes what he says, that's it, he's in a trap. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
he needs to survive inside of that trap. So at the age of 5, you create your main character. And all it took for Adam is a friend conning him out of a marble while he was playing, and he felt humiliated and he decided, I'm a fool, I will close myself off. So look, when he decided, I'm a fool, look how well it goes with life is a place where people hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I just want to jump in there, everybody. So this is important. In the book, it actually tells the stories in more detail. So just play it back what you said. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this Adam, and I assume one of your students was one of the students that you coached. So again, everybody, Sophie's a coach. She walks people through this. You need to connect to her and you need to experience this if you want. I read the story about Alan, and it was this playing marbles. And I played marbles when I was a kid. Everybody had a bag of marbles from here and there. But something about how, as Sophie said in the book, the chart says he experienced something from his friend. The emotion was he was humiliated, but the decision he made was, I'm a fool. Now think about that, how unhealthy that is. Just because somebody else did something in a game of marbles, now I'm thinking I'm a fool. And this is age 5. And Sophie, I just want to say that I'm so proud of what you're doing here. Everybody, I learned that up till about age 20 or somewhere around there, the children don't have that rational prefrontal cortex. So whatever they're thinking and feeling is what it is. And it's wired in there in the neurons of our brains. Then not only did the decision, I'm a fool, think about this. It says compensation. I will close myself off. And this is the part that blew my mind, was so eye-opening, that that for the rest of the life, this is age 5, this person, if they didn't unravel all this, would be living a life of closing themselves off because they see and feel, looking in the outside world, that they're a fool.
Yeah,
And
and Tom, they will say things like, "But that's just how I
yeah,
am."
wow.
No, that's not how you are. That's what you decided.
All right, go back into the sheet and take us through age 12 and 16 quickly, please.
So at 12, you create your relationship to the supporting cast, right? And again, look at the logic of it. Do you remember the age of 10, 11, 12? All we wanted is to belong, to be like everybody else. And we had
Yeah,
friends and we
that's
love
right.
our immediate community. And he's called into the principal office because his results at school are really bad. And when the principal talks to Adam, and Adam is actually very bright, he's just not working, but he's very bright. The principal, really surprised, said, "Oh, well, you're not stupid." And for Adam, that was so shocking. Say, how can he believe I was stupid? He really doesn't understand who I am. So he decided, I'm now in my relationship with people. People are going to always misunderstand me, not see me. And to
Wow.
compensate and try to fix it, he says, okay, I won't talk, I listen.
My goodness. Again, I just have to jump in and reiterate because my brain's taking all this in. So I hear this 12-year-old, the principal says he's said the word like he's not stupid after all. And the child's brain doesn't know the difference between word and truth or truth or lie, takes it in and forms the opinion, I'm misunderstood. And then the part I'm fascinated by is in the book, you have it as compensation. So in other words, this is the decision he made. I'm misunderstood. But then in the last column of the sheet, it says compensation. Just tell us what that means.
In psychology, compensation is a strategy where one conceals, consciously or not, weaknesses, what you think is a weakness, a frustration, a desire, a feeling of helplessness, something wrong with you, something flawed, and you hide it.
Yes.
With a way of being, with a character trait. That's what a compensation is. It's an overreaction to a feeling or an emotion. Very well known in psychology. I'm not a psychologist and I don't do psychology at all, but the notion of compensation is all across. Yeah.
Sophie, it's fascinating. Take us to the last incident. It's 16 years of age.
So 16 years, he's sent off to boarding school, and they are very rough students there that bullies him. And he is a soft guy. He's a listener. Now he's closed off. He's quiet. He's intelligent, but doesn't show himself. And he's really afraid. And those bullies hurt him and, do what bully do. And he decide he can't stand up to them, and he decide he's weak.
Wow. Bring back on this.
And to compensate for that, try to survive, try to hide that weakness, he became obedient. So he did what he's told.
Did what he's told. This is something that comes up. When I interact with youth, particular youth or youth who we talk about as they go into their adulthood, I see this a lot that comes up, that even in the workplace, the workaholics, they sometimes compromise their values just doing what the boss or the company said.
Yeah, just to belong, just
to belong.
Out, right? And that is Tom, this is so good that you pick that up, because that's part of the sleepwalker, right? The sleepwalker doesn't want to be a leader, doesn't want to make waves, doesn't want to stand out, doesn't want to take risk. When you awaken, in the face of a bully, in the face of something that is unworkable, you will take a stand.
Absolutely.
So the advantages of awakening everybody is self-respect, self-confidence. It's loving yourself. It's providing leadership. It's loving, caring, generosity, courage. All those are the side effect of being awakened.
That's fascinating. I'm going to just show everybody. I'm in the studio. If you'll see that I have a second camera, and I'm just holding this up, Sophie. You can see it. It's a little pad of paper. So I make notes as we're being taught here by Sophie. I just want to read this, because what I did when I started reading the workbook is I started developing these matrices from this worksheet. So everybody, I'm describing a case study in this book of Adam's 4 incidents. Now listen to this. Just imagine if this was your life and you created this snapshot of how you are being automatically and unconsciously. So this is your view of life. Life is a place where people hurt me. I'm a fool. I'm misunderstood. I'm weak. And these views of life, when I read this, are horrifying, but these came through experiences or incidents age 1.5, 5, 12, and 16. Now think about that for a moment, everybody. When we're raising our children, or we know people have gone through maltreatment and things, there's so many of these blueprints out there. But not only is that my view of life, here's how I chose to survive my life. I'll be very careful. I will close myself off. I'm going to listen, and I'll be very obedient.
And that's what you show the world.
Yeah,
that is what the world sees. The world only sees your compensation. The little child and even the adult will never tell the truth, or not until they do some work on themselves, about what they perceive are their flaws. You don't have somebody saying, "Hi, I'm Sophie and I think I'm a monster." No, I say, "No, hi, I'm Sophie and I'm a really strong woman." Yeah. That's, you give an image. That's why Shakespeare said we're all actors.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think about that, and how many people do you think? I know you don't know, but out of 9 billion on the planet, what percentage of people do you think are living and walking as sleepwalkers? versus those who have
99.9%.
Yeah. I mean that, and I'm not laughing because I think that's outrageous. What Sophie just said is true. And you know how I know that is because if you read the workbook or you just watch this, how many people relate to the sleepwalking? Sorry, go ahead, Sophie.
Tom, the thing is, we're going through a systemic crisis.
Yeah.
So systemic meaning our entire system is in crisis. And Einstein said it beautifully, right? Years ago, he said, our technology has surpassed our
Yeah.
humanity. And that discrepancy is the source of all suffering. Our humanity needs to elevate and surpass our technology. So this is the world we have. Why I say that most of us are still sleepwalking, and everybody, I'm not talking about enlightenment, I'm talking about awakening.
Yes.
Is because of the result we're producing in the world.
I see.
Between until the systemic crisis will not be resolved by changing and fixing the crisis. The result we are producing comes from the system we have created. The system is not broken. The system is not broken. This is the system of sleepwalking. If you're a sleepwalker, that is a crisis you produce.
Yes.
So only awakening
Yes.
will disappear the systemic crisis. And that's why I wrote this guide. And this is what I put every single inch of my 35 years of experience in this guide. I gave it all. I'm available. I lead courses. I have YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, private groups, live, books. I am giving everything. You can reach me one way or the other. I'm here to serve you. Let's awaken together.
I'm just gonna have a big audience applause going on there. We have just about 7 or 8 minutes left here. I want to keep showing a few things because this is just incredible. I want to add one more thing to the screen here. So, Sophie, we've talked a lot about, okay, these are the 4 incidents, and this is what the unconscious ego is. One of the things when I was going through the workbook was, okay, great. Now that I know what it is, how do I shift that? And what we have on the screen here, everybody, I call it creating a conscious ego. I just want to read the first a big line there and ask you to talk about it. In this play, my automatic and unconscious ego is not, if it's not who I am, then what am I? So just take us through this for a couple minutes.
Well, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, French mystic, said, you are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. Tom, you have a human. You are your soul. You do not have a soul. You are your soul and you have a human. So once you've awakened, you will actually get an experience of who you are. It is absolutely a beautiful moment with my student where they stop talking, by the way. For most of them, they have those big eyes and they can't say a word anymore because they suddenly experience their essence and they see the human. So they're not the human anymore. That is a very special moment in somebody's life.
Yeah.
So you need to get to that level to remember who you really are. Many people ask me, what's my purpose in life? What's my purpose? I say, well, the same than everybody else. Remember who you really are.
Yeah. I was just thinking on the list here, and what I like about the book is the way it's laid out is you have a list here of some examples. It says innocence, enthusiasm, wonderment, luminosity, omnipotence. One that jumped out at me is love, clarity, intelligence. I'm just going to take that one thing that one case study said about him, this one boy thinking he's a fool. That word's not on this list, but look at all these things, and probably some of these are what, when he was awakened, he realizing this is really me. That's incredible.
And you know what is extraordinary with my experience? I don't explain it. I don't try to understand things, but every single one of my students has no separatedness, but they have their own individual essence.
Oh, okay.
So I think as a soul, we still have an individuality, but no separateness. It's like a perfume. Perfume can melt into each other.
Yeah.
And that is the closest you can get to who you really are, is to know experience your essence.
Wow. What about this? Practicing the rules of being. Anything on that?
Yes. And then my students say to me, "Oh, well, what do you mean I have to just bring awareness?" I said, "Excuse me, you've been spending 20, 30, 40, 60 years of your life reinforcing your gel. Do you think it's going to take a little bit of practice, like a few months, to just create a new conscious ego? Because you do need an ego to go through this earth. Except if you're a monk or a nun or go, a mystic living alone in the Himalaya. But if you're going to function in the world, you do need an ego, but it's a conscious ego versus a sleepwalker ego. So that's very different. And I give exactly what needs to be practiced. And again, it's finite. I think there is 5 or 6 things, so that you can practice for 6 months, a year, 2 years, so that you can master your conscious ego.
Yeah, we have one on the screen here. I just read in the box. There's a framed in a box at the bottom. It says, Sophie, you wrote, you listen to what you are saying about what the other person is saying, which is not what they are saying. And this rule is, if I'm not wrong, listening versus hearing. And what I love that is, going through my brain injury, I went to a neuroplasticity clinic. I might have told you that. And for 20 weeks, they actually using neuroplasticity, which is helping my neurons reorganize to work different, to deal with being able to walk straight, my capacity to speak, all these things that were broken. What I'm thinking here is this, would it be fair to say, as I'm practicing these rules, what I'm doing is developing new neural pathways. My brain, I'm shifting that.
Tom, I just love talking to you. Really what this guide does? It rewires your neurons.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
That's what you need to practice. That's what transformation is. Get some new neuronal connection.
And everyone, if you really don't understand neuroplasticity, what Sophie just said, go to ChatGPT or Google it, because you have the capacity, right, Sophie? And that's my last question on this. My last question is is it ever late to start doing this process?
Oh, no. My oldest student was, I think, 79.
Wow.
And my mother did it with me, and she was 84.
Oh,
and she still works with me, and she's 86. Yeah. No. I don't buy into old age. No.
You're such a blessing to the audience. Just that one story. Here's Sophie working with her mom, who's 84, and her mom went through this process. You left there's a legacy, I can imagine.
He's one of the example, actually. The case studies, I won't say which one, but I used her as a case study.
Oh, now I'm going to bug you to tell me which one.
Maybe we should do a game. The one who guess who she is.
Okay, I'll work on this. I just want to show two more quick things here. The book is, everybody, because I'm doing this, I'm teasing you to get the book, right? So I'm showing you these things quickly. What I thought was fun is these 2 slides here. I'm just going to make it so that we're minimized. Whoops. Let's go to that view there. So everybody, if you can't see it on the screen, this slide is are my interpretations, not the truth. And Sophie's got a picture of this person kind of standing up with this goofy on one leg with her arms out. And these are the words in the bubbles: funny, pretty, fit, fun, clever, stupid, crazy, goofy. And then here's the next one. The goal of any interpretation is to move from implicit to explicit, to make up for a deficit of meaning, as one must have a meaning in order to survive. And you see this frog here, right? And it's got the bubbles around it: horrible, delicious, French, disgusting, cute, best, a great pet. The metaphors in just these 2 slides we could talk about forever. But I want to share one more thing, and then we'll move to wrapping up with you, for giving you the last word. So just let me just get you for a minute while I'm finding what I want to share here, to talk about the practice. So what you actually do. You said you coach, you work with people. Just talk about that and how people can find that.
All you need to do is go to the website that you very kindly put at the bottom of the screen, right? SophieMcLean.com, and you will see I have self-guided. I'm trying, right, Tom, to give it away to everybody that is interested. So I have self-guided group, which I'm doing every single financial level. So self-guided group, personal, one-on-one. I work with CEOs, Fortune 500. The books, the live, the free coaching call once a month. Go and
It's
see
everything.
my website. Everything is there. I'm trying to cover what might work for everybody.
Yeah, everybody, you can see on the screen here, we've got the website open, sophiemclean.com. It's awesome, and I could play around with it, but basically wanted you to know that it's a one-stop place. The books, blog, podcast, everything's there. There's a saying, Sophie, that I heard before. If you want to be great, or you want to do something great, or find somebody who's done it, not only find somebody who's done it, but copy them. Why reinvent the wheel? And Sophie, I just want to honor you. You've had 35 years since all that trauma and stuff you talked about to perfect this teaching, and 80,000 people you've worked with. Hey, everybody, there's not many of Sophie's out there, so you got to get a hold of them. Here's a comment from someone. Oh, looks like it's somebody I know. She, Anadetta.
How kind.
That's my wife. So fascinating and uplifting. She says, "Thank you for your inspiration, Sophie."
How kind. Thank you, Anna. It is such a privilege. That's why I call myself a teacher, is because the only thing I have to give is my life experience. And if it can just encourage someone, soothe someone, inspire someone, help someone, that's all. My life is complete. It's just serving, exactly like you said, so that people don't have to reinvent the wheel. We need to use each other to elevate together.
I think that's one of the biggest teaching points for today, everyone, is serving. You heard that. Go back and listen to this and internalize it. I've thrown up on the screen there just now Sophie's this comes out of the book, which is why I highly recommend the book. I've written it a review of 5 stars, Sophie. That'll be put up today.
Thank you, Tom.
But what I like in it, everyone, is not only is a workbook, but it says you can find the worksheets and download them from sophiemclean.worksheets. And there it is. It's on the screen, free downloadable.
Yeah, you can do it with your family. You get one book. It's the same for everybody. You've got many workbook, and you can do it with a group of friends. You can go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sophie, as we move to wrap up, I want to just read a few things off my paper again to you. So we're going to just see me in my studio there. So these are leadership words. I always write these unscripted as you're speaking. So the 4 of them. The first one is love. It comes out of you, and that last story of your mom in 84 and all, that's just a picture of love. That's amazing. Number 2 is maven. A maven is somebody. I think I got that right. The word. I want to make sure I've got the right context. A maven is somebody when you say, if I'm sleepwalking, if I just don't understand why I misunderstood, how do I get unstuck? How do I unravel this? You say, oh, Sophie's the one. So you have such wisdom and greatness in you. Third word is wisdom. It's part of what your business brand is. You are wisdom. And the last one is, I call this inspirational. Your whole life and what you've done with it, when we know where you came from, is just very inspiring. So I'm going to give it back to you for the last word and anything you want to say to those who are sleepwalking.
Tom, there is, to those of you that have a little inkling that you might still be trapped into sleepwalking, just know that there is nothing wrong with it. We are all going through it. This is a design of this incarnation. So don't be embarrassed. Don't make yourself wrong. The first step to awakening is always telling the truth. Oh, I do feel trapped in my life and I have no idea why. And I don't know you, and I probably we won't meet, but just know that this work has allowed me to be in the space of love And I send my love to everybody, and specifically to you, Tom. I get to meet extraordinary human beings, but your meeting is a delight in generosity. You just, speaking to you is like having the biggest hug in generosity and caring. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I'm, I have a Fijian colored skin, everyone, so I'm blushing. You can't tell, but usually I go pink before I go. That last word there about the hug, that's my personality. And that is just. I got to tell you though that in terms of me, we will meet, because now that I know where Spain is, I always say that we're meeting already in the universe and we're connected. I can talk
Yes,
to you.
yes, we are, and there is a course I lead only 2 or 3 a year, but starting in September. And Tom, if you are interested, let me know and we'll work out something. Right?
Yeah.
It's just, it would be great.
Would that be on the website if once you post it?
Yes, it is already there. I think it's
okay. I'll go check it out.
It's already there.
Yeah, and they'll definitely connect back. All right, everybody. Well, listen, find that true purpose like you have seen from Sophie. Live that life you deserve and live the life that you desire. Sophie, it's been an honor having you here. We'll welcome you back anytime.
Thank you, Tom.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
You're welcome. Just stay with us for a minute or two.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca.